Hi, my name is Paul Rushworth-Brown, host of Down Under Interviews, History Bards, and Meet the Author in the USA. And today we're here with a wonderful author, Malve von Hassell, who's written what sounds like a very, very interesting novel, The Price of Loyalty, serving Adela of Blois. And I'm glad I asked you how to pronounce that before the show, Malve, because I would have pronounced it a totally different way.
Yes.
So Adela of Blois has been called both a saint and a tyrant. Where do you think the truth sits, and who had the most to gain from distorting her image?
That is a loaded question on many different levels. First of all, let me start at the end. Who had the most to gain? There's a historian, Orderic Vitalis, a near contemporary of Adela, and he clearly had his own personal prejudices and biases. And he wrote about Adela in a way that, shall we say, is quite unflattering. And he spoke about her manipulation of her own husband and her ruthlessness in making her husband go on crusade.
In an age ruled by kings and broken by war, one woman must hold her world together. Adela of Blois, daughter of a king, wife of a crusader, left to guard a realm built on fragile loyalties. Her husband, Stephen Henry, rides to the Holy Land, leaving behind the woman who was his true strength. And in the shadows walks Cerdic, a Saxon knight bound by duty, torn by memory, and caught between the past he longs for and the loyalties he cannot escape. As crusade calls the faithful across continents, as empires collide, every bond will be tested. Adela must stand with courage, with dignity, and with the strength of a woman who refuses to be forgotten. Honor, desire, betrayal, and the price of loyalty no one escapes. The price of loyalty, serving Adela of Blois. Where does loyalty lie, and who at last claims the heart?
Adela was a powerful woman. She was determined. She acquired the term Saint Adela because she was profoundly religious, and she spent a great deal of money and time in supporting the church.
Now, you're not only an author, you're an anthropologist. You have a PhD. You speak really, really well, but at an academic level, right? So me being just a dummy, you might have to dumb it down for me a little bit. You don't know what to say, do you?
No, I don't know what to say to that. I would say that everybody knows the National Enquirer. Everybody knows gossip.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how history can be distorted in retrospect.
Yeah.
So in a way, one of the main points that I want people to get from reading about Adela and reading this book is that a portrait that you read of someone is not necessarily the truth.
Yeah.
And that history seen by a contemporary of that period is just as questionable as when you open the New York Times today and read about any given political personality.
Sure.
In 1843, a young girl was torn from the world she knew and brought deep into the harsh reality of Louisiana's plantation life. At Fox Creek, Monette grows up between lines she did not draw. Lines that decide who belongs, who serves, and who survives. Childhood slips away. Silence becomes protection. And every day, the weight of the place presses harder. Cyrus, the boy taken with her, grows into the steady presence in the fields, the one who watches over her when no one else will. But danger doesn't always shout. Sometimes it stands at a distance, just watching. When the planter's son begins to notice her, out gathering wood, in quiet corners, in passing glances, The ground beneath her feet shifts.
The truth is a malleable thing. It gets twisted and distorted.
Okay.
And the 11th century was the same in this respect as the present time.
Right.
So that's, in a way, one of the things that I want people to get from reading about a period that is very far removed from our own reality.
Yeah.
Not that different
Yeah.
in many respects.
Yeah. Okay. So the book suggests loyalty can be noble, but also dangerous. In Adela's world, is loyalty a virtue or a weapon?
The term loyalty I used especially with regard to my main fictional character, through whose eyes we learn about Adela. I created two fictional characters, one a young man, somebody who was born in England, who has the name Cerdic, not Cedric, but Cerdic, which comes from Wessex. And he came to Normandy, to the court where Adela was born, and he was an orphan, and he was lonely, and he was lost. And Adela was his first friend. They were of the same age, roughly the same age. She was a little bit younger, and she befriended him, and she made him feel better. And so his loyalty was partly a personal loyalty. So loyalty was already there, a very twisted concept. And Cerdic never quite could determine whether he wanted to go back to England or whether he wanted to be in France, whether he was loyal to Adela or whether he wanted to be an Englishman. And he still felt that. So he was torn.
You mentioned the arranged marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think medieval ideas of love and obligation were more honest than what they are today? Or
Yeah, in a sense they were, because it was understood that marriage was largely an economic or a political alliance. So for Adela essentially did not have choice per se. Her father had chosen Stephen Henry de Blois as her husband because it was an alliance for her father. And he also knew that it would give his daughter a position of power and influence in the years to come. So did Adela have much choice in this? No. Love is a very interesting concept in these stories. When you read about Adela, when you read the historical record, she had a very good marriage. Her husband was very fond of her, and this becomes clear. It is by sheer good fortune that we have letters.
he spent a lot of time away at the Crusades, didn't he? So maybe that's why it was a successful marriage.
Well, no, not quite, because by the time he left for Crusade in 1096, they had already birthed a bunch of children, and the marriage was already of long standing.
Yeah.
The irony is he didn't want to go.
Right.
And Adela financed his crusade.
Two women shaped his life, a mother who refused to break and a wife who met every storm with courage. Their stories lived in the shadows until he finally stepped forward to tell them. A Letter Unwritten is the journey of a son looking back at sacrifice, at survival, at the quiet heroism of women the world rarely notices, but families never forget. From the trauma that marked his childhood to the fear of becoming the man he swore he'd never be, this is a story of confronting the past and finding the strength to choose a different path. Through his mother Jo's resilience and Bonnie's enduring love, Randy discovers that even the hardest stories can lead to healing, if someone is brave enough to speak them. A Letter Unwritten, the memoir that honours two extraordinary women and the sun changed forever by their courage.
So Mel, with your anthropological background, it lets you see systems beneath the surface. What uncomfortable truths about medieval society did you uncover that readers may not want to know?
Knights were not noble. The crusade was not a noble enterprise. A lot of brutality happened. A lot of bad things happened.
Yeah.
It's not all about glorious people, glorious actions,
Chivalry and all that type of thing.
or chivalry or heroism. It's not.
All these things going on, and this woman had so much power in a time when I suppose, unless you were a queen, women didn't have that much power.
Is this a question?
Yeah.
Essentially, this is one of the things that I find interesting about that period. The Crusades made it possible for many women to play a role that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to play, because their men were going to the Crusades. They were not at home.
Yeah.
And women stepped in. Women had, in that time period, much more of a role than one would realize.
So she was basically a product of her time and circumstance, wasn't she?
She was actually fairly extraordinary in that, unlike many women or most women, she got a very good education. Her mother insisted on an education for all her children, including her daughters.
Yeah.
And that was unusual. She had a better education than her husband and a better education than her father, and was very literate and very interested in all sorts of writing. So in that sense, she stood out.
Mm. So you've lived between cultures. Obviously, you're living in the US at the moment, and but you were born in Italy, right? So how do you think being part of those two cultures, how do you think it affects your writing, or does it?
It totally affects my writing. And in a sense, I felt when I was creating my character, Serdic, I felt a great deal of, how shall I say, sympathy with his problems, because he was always an outsider. He remained an outsider in France. And if he had managed to go back to England, he would have been an outsider there as well. And I know this because I am an outsider in Germany. I am not at home in Germany anymore. And to some extent, I will always be an outsider here in the US.
Yeah.
It is part of one's existence.
Yeah, right. Okay. So obviously, you would have done a huge amount of research to write this novel. If you took away the history, what's actually driving the story? Is it love?
Two marriages.
Okay.
And what makes a good marriage?
Right.
And ultimately, Serdic has to work out his marriage with Giselle, the young woman whom he marries.
Yeah.
And he has to figure out what is more important, that marriage or his loyalty to Adela. And in the same way, Adela's marriage is defined by, on the one hand, her emphasis on religion, and on her dominance, on her insistence on dominance. On the other hand, she did love her husband.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is actually my favorite part of the show, what we're coming up to, and we're going to I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and they're quick fire questions. Some related to the novel, others not related to the novel. And the first thing that comes to your mind, or a one or two word answer or a sentence answer, that's fine. All right. So are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
First question. Adela, saint or strategist?
Both.
Okay. Loyalty or self-preservation, which wins?
Loyalty.
Most shocking thing you learned about the Crusades era?
rape and violence towards women by crusaders on their way to the Holy Land.
Cedric's first true love, Adela or Giselle?
Adela.
Medieval power, more honest than modern power?
Yes.
Is exile a blessing or a curse?
Both.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you want to expand on why?
Exile can provide you with an opening. It's a way to open doors. And it can also make you feel lost forever in the world that you end up in.
Okay. Which is stronger, faith or fear?
Fear.
Adela today, Prime Minister or CEO?
Oh, CEO.
Why?
Because she worked behind the scenes.
Okay.
Like women generally in history worked behind the scenes.
Yep. Good answer. Most overrated medieval myth that you know of?
I guess the notion of love and romance between the knight and his damsel.
Okay. All right. Is loyalty ever truly free?
Loyalty is a choice, and
Okay.
you choose the things that bind you. So is it truly free? Yes, as a choice it is.
Okay, wonderful. So, Malv, it's been absolutely, to be honest with you, I feel a little bit, I'm punching way above my weight at the moment speaking with you.
I'm sorry. It was so much fun. You challenged me with these questions.
And look, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you.
And, congratulations on the novel. It seems like, I'm scared to read it, coming from somebody as educated as yourself. So thank you for coming on the show. And I wish you the very, very best with your novel, The Price of Loyalty, Serving Adela of Blois. See, I can barely say Blois.
Thank you.
All right.